Sometimes the thing you hate most is your secret source of joy. I know that might sound a little hard to believe, but I'm going to explain it and it'll become so clear to you in just a few minutes. I'm Shiraz. I'm a reality interventionist, and I help you get out of the addiction you have to your current life, which could be one of lack, of struggle, of working hard all the time, and get addicted to a better life. So, more ease, more wealth, more joy, and more self-mastery. Now, what I do is not as important as why I do it. You see, I believe that everyone just wants to be heard, seen, and loved. But we are taught at an early age that in order to get by in this world, you have to make sure you are what you think people will like. You have to fit in. You have to make sure you don't rock the boat. And I've discovered that when you take that advice, you stop being who you truly are. You stop accessing your full potential, your true value. And that's what causes a lot of the issues that are going on in your life. I also believe that when you tap into your true value, when you are unapologetically you, your impact amplifies, your success skyrockets, and you become happier than you've ever been in your life. Now, I'd like to thank Lama for putting on this event because self-mastery is so important. A lot of times people are blaming what's going on around them for their circumstances. But when you truly master the self, you can change your circumstances just by sheer force of will and get everything you want. And that's what we're going to be talking about today. And I'd like to thank you too for watching this, for wanting to improve your self-mastery, to take control of your life and to have an impact on other people's lives. Thank you so much for that. Now, for me, the thing I hated most was not making enough money. I hated not making enough money, not being able to afford the things I loved, wondering if I'm going to be able to cover all my bills, and just being frustrated that no matter what I did, what strategies I did, what courses I offered, what coaches I worked with, nothing seemed to change. And that was frustrating. Now, it wasn't awful for me because where I was stuck was I was making $100,000 a year. And if you're not making that much, that seems like that's a good place to be. But if you've been stuck there for a couple decades, and no matter how hard you try, you're not making any more money, it's frustrating as hell. And because I kept reinvesting into trying to make more than $100,000, my net income was about $0 every year. So that's why I couldn't afford those things that I wanted. And the things I really wanted was to be able to travel wherever I wanted, whenever I wanted. And you can't do that on $100,000 a year, especially if you want to travel first class. So I had tried different strategies. I had tried different offers, and nothing seemed to work. And it started off in corporate, and in corporate, I thought maybe it's just the company I was at. So I went contracting. Contracting, I thought I'd make more money. Nope, stayed at $100,000. I eventually changed and started doing mindset work, which led to me being a reality interventionist. But even with the mindset work, I started off just a few $1,000s the first year, but ramped up to $100,000 really quickly, and then stuck right there, $100,000. Frustrating as hell. Until finally I said, wait a sec, what if this isn't a strategy problem? What if this is a mindset problem? Now, you'd think that working with mindset, I would have come up with that a lot sooner than 10 years in the mindset field, but it's so easy to see what's going on with other people than it is to see what's going on with yourself. So finally, I said, okay, let me get a coach of my own for mindset, worked with him, and we found out that when I was a teenager, my friends, my family would say things like, Shiraz, we know you're going to do well. You are smart, you are creative, you're going to be making millions. And I thought, oh my God, this is great. I'm going to be making millions. They see that in me. This is fantastic. And then they said things like, you'll have that house on the beach, you'll get to travel the world, do whatever you love. And I'm like, yes, that sounds fantastic. I love traveling. But then they added, and then we get to come hang with you at your house and swim in your pool. And, when you travel, you can take us with and you can pay for everything because you're making so much money. And I went, say what now? And I did not want that to happen. And in that moment, when they started saying things like that, my mind made a decision that $100,000 is high enough that I could live a fairly comfortable life, but not so high that all these people would start suddenly say, can I have some money? Right? Can you take care of me? Can you invest in my latest project? Can you, give to my charity? I was afraid of overwhelm of all these people coming at me. I was afraid of being guilted into giving money, and I was afraid of being pressured into giving money. And when we got to this realization of what was going on, I had to change how I felt about the whole situation. Because here's the thing, if you start making a lot of money, there are going to be some people that come up and say, "Can I have some?" So it's not about suddenly believing that that's not going to happen. It's accepting that that may happen, but reacting in a different way than you had originally planned. Because here's the thing, it may not have been conscious, but unconsciously I had planned that I'm going to get overwhelmed. I'm going to be guilted into things. I am going to be pressured. And so when I made the decision that if people ask me for money, I don't have to feel that way. You know, Shiraz, can you invest in my company? No. Shiraz, we're family. You need to take care of us. You need to give us some money. No. Right? And just that worry, it's person after person after person. Yeah, I don't care. Right. And it's not that I became uncaring because there were times where people would say, Shiraz, I have this great idea and it needs an investment. I said, oh my God, that's an amazing idea. Yes, here's some money. But you'll notice there's no emotional distress. That is the part of the self-mastery that's so important because a lot of times you think this is just how you're going to feel, but it's actually how you've trained yourself to feel. And when you start to retrain yourself on how you're going to react or respond to different external stimuli, then you master your inner state. And when you master your inner state, everything changes in your life. So when I got to that space of, you can ask me for money, and I'll be like, yeah, but you're not getting it, or no, sure, you can, without any emotional distress. Within the next year, I added $100,000 to my income. Now, as I continued more exercises on self-mastery of getting out of reaction to different situations, to having more success, to being more visible, by the end of the next year, I had done $1 million in sales. Now, wouldn't it be wonderful if you go from wherever you are to doing $1 million in sales within 2 years? It is possible, and I've watched people do it, and I've helped people do it. And so this is the thing I want you to really get is your mind helps you to avoid emotional distress by creating physical circumstances, right? And those physical circumstances may not feel like they're great circumstances. It could be I don't make enough money, or I'm not getting the visibility I want, or I'm in horrible relationships all the time. But here's the thing, those things you don't like, those things you hate are actually your secret source of joy because they help you avoid this emotional distress. So every consistent problem you have in your life right now is actually a solution for an emotional problem you're not looking at. And when you solve for that emotional problem, the physical problem goes away. Now, that's one aspect of it, is avoidance of emotional distress. The other aspect is getting an emotional fix. So what does that look like? Let's say that you were taught you have to work hard to succeed, right? It's a very common belief you have to work hard to succeed. It's actually not true. You have to be willing to work hard to succeed, right? But it's the willingness that's required, not the actual hard work. When you're willing to work hard, sometimes easy ways show up and you still make lots and lots of money, have a lot of success. However, when you're stuck in, I have to work hard to succeed, then when you do work hard, your body gives you a hit of dopamine after a hard day's work. And so you work hard the next day, get your dopamine fix. Work hard the next day to get your dopamine fix. And sometimes it's within each day. If there's a particularly hard thing to do within that day and you get that done, you get a dopamine fix. So you build up a dopamine addiction. Okay. And this is where we talk about reality intervention because we're intervening on an addiction. So when someone says, hey, stop working so hard, start working smarter, you'll say, oh, that's a great idea. I don't have to work so hard. I'm going to start working smarter. And then what happens is you find a way to work smarter. Your workload goes down. You're not working as hard. You feel like this is a great thing, except your body is now saying, where's my dopamine? I need my fix. It's in physical withdrawal. So it sends signals up to your brain said, make this person work hard again so we can get our fix. And then something happens, technology fails, or things get really busy, or you've forgotten to do something and you suddenly have to work hard. And when you get done that working out, you're like, oh, good, I got it done. And you get your dopamine hit. And your whole body goes, oh, thank God. And then it happens again and again. You find out you're back where you started. And this is what happens. Like if you've ever been to a retreat or gone through a program and you started to see success and things were getting better, but then after a few weeks or a few months, you lost it. It's not that the thing you did didn't work. It's that the person that put you through it or the course you took did not account for the reality addiction and the withdrawal that comes with it. When you account for the withdrawal, then what happens is you start to see success, you start to go to withdrawal and go, oh, nope, this is withdrawal. Let's keep it going. More success, start to go to withdrawal, more success, and you just keep going in that trajectory. So that is something that a lot of people don't know and don't allow for. You are addicted to your current reality. And when you start to change your addictions, things can change for you. So here's the thing, you're going to be addicted to something no matter what. Your body uses it to maintain homeostasis. For me, I used to work hard all the time. And it wasn't because I was taught you have to work hard to succeed. It's because I was in a lot of ego that I can outwork anyone. So if you put in an extra hour, I'll put in an extra two and get my dopamine fix. If you say I'm staying late tonight, I'll go all night, get my dopamine fix. Now it was great because I was, creating success, but at the same time I was burning myself out. So one day I said, hey, wait a second. This is all about addiction. What if I change the addiction and change it to an addiction to things being easy? So if a solution came up that was really easy, I go, yes, that was easy. And I give myself a dopamine hit through that celebration, right? And sometimes I'd have to do some big task and someone would say, oh, I can do that for you. I'm like, yes, that was easy. Give myself a dopamine hit. And it started to become like, having that easy button that staples. Yes, that was easy. Yes, that was easy. Now, once I started doing this, intentionally doing this, I started to change what my reticular activating system was focused on, where it used to be focused on how can I work harder and outdo people, to how can I make things easier. So I started seeing more and more things that could be done easier. I started attracting more ways to do things easier. People started helping me in bigger ways, or it could have been I just accepted help where I didn't accept it before, so things could be easy. And now my life is really easy, and I get my dopamine hit every time something is easy. Now, does that mean all the hard days have gone? No. I still have hard days every now and then, but I don't get my fix from them. They're anomalies as opposed to the norm. Easy days are the norm. So this is what can happen for you. When you start to consciously choose your addictions, your life can change, right? And this can be a tough process because your body is fighting to hold on to the current addictions because they work for it. Whether they are physically helping you or not, your body's like, well, this has worked for me probably for decades. Why would I change it? Why would I risk leaving this place of homeostasis to go to some new place that you're deciding is better for me? Now, if you keep to it, and like same with me, every time, easy button, yes, yes, celebrate, yes, get that fix anchored in. The fix of everything being easy and the fix of everything being hard can't exist at the same time. So this one had to dissolve. And now that I'm with the easy, when something comes hard, especially if several things become hard in a row, now my body is like, no, you can't make it hard. I need my easy fix. So it is defending and holding that easy fix with all of the force that it did to defend the everything I have to work hard fix that it had before. It switched it over. So this is the cool thing about reality addiction is you can get addicted to ease. You can get addicted to money flowing in all the time. You can get addicted to success. But it comes from mastering your mind and your emotions so that you can move from the old addictions to the new addictions. And again, you're going to be addicted, but you're already addicted to a lot of things and you may not even realize it. Oftentimes when I work in a classroom, I'll say, who here always finds the best parking spots? And all these hands go up. Yes, absolutely. I find the best parking spots. That's an addiction. It's an addiction to finding the best parking spots, which makes your reticular activating system look for those spots. It actually, through law of attraction, causes you to attract those spots so that you keep receiving the right stimuli so you can keep staying in your reality addiction. And that's it. Like it's that simple. So anyone can do this once they actually decide this is what's going to happen for me, right? Now, it's it's just fascinating how simple this can be that a lot of people don't get it and don't think it works. But it absolutely does work, and I've helped at least at this point thousands of people to shed old addictions and get into new addictions. So one of the things I've found for heart-centered people is this avoidance of negative emotions, particularly guilt and shame. And again, I'm not saying you stop avoiding guilt and shame. I'm saying stop choosing the belief that I need to feel that way. A very common thing is it's unfair for some people to have a lot of wealth and lives of ease while other people are struggling. And on the surface, that makes sense. Why should some people have it all while all these people are struggling? But if that belief is driving you, then your mind will say, well, I can't be one of those people that has it easy. I will feel guilty about that. And I need to avoid guilt. So, how can we make sure we're not guilty? Well, if we're struggling, just like all those other people, we say, well, it's unfair while people are struggling, then you can't feel guilty because you're one of the strugglers, right? And so, this is where you have to decide, you know what? Do I have to feel guilty if I have an easy life? Because the truth is, the easier your life is, the more prosperous your life is, the more effect you can have in the world, the more you can help those people that are struggling. You can't help the people that are struggling when you're struggling. It's just, it doesn't work. When you're living that life of ease, when you're having a huge impact in the world, now you can help them. And then you can get addicted to that. Another thing I found is, excuse me, the underdog syndrome. We see a lot of movies about people being the underdog, and a lot of people pride themselves on being the underdog. Now, here's the thing about being the underdog. You may think, well, yeah, in the movie, the underdog wins at the end. Yes, when's the end for you, right? The end for you is when you're ready to die, basically. So if you pride yourself on being the underdog and you're going to win in the end, then right when you feel like that's coming near the end of life, that's when you're going to have your big success. It's not going to be any time before that because then you stop being the underdog, right? Now, if you let that go and say, you know, I don't need to be the underdog anymore. I don't need to get my fix from another challenge coming up and another person trying to put me down and just repeating that over and over again. Look at me being the underdog and overcoming this and this and this. Then you can start living this life of ease where there's not a continual challenge, there's not a continual oppression in your life. And you can let go of that whole identity of the underdog and be that successful entrepreneur that is possible for you. Now, your addiction at that point goes from, oh, look, someone trying to oppress me and I've managed to get through it, to, wow, it still could be the same thing. Life is easy for me, or success comes naturally to me, or people love to hear my message. And then when people are listening to your message, or you get another bout of success coming through, you get to celebrate and create that addiction. So this is happening in every area of your life. It's the reason you're making the money you're making. It's the reason you are as visible as you are or not as visible you are. It's the reason why you have the same relationships happening over and over again. It's a reason that you are at a certain level of health, right? These are all addictions. Now, can they change? Yes, because some people are healthy and then something hits them. But what happens is when that thing hits you, if you allow that to become a new addiction, you stay in that new space of, okay, now I am always going to be injured or always going to be sick or whatever it is. When you hold on to the old addiction of, no, I'm always healthy, then that whatever happened passes really quickly. And here's the thing, it seems like circumstance. It just seems like, well, that's just what life threw at me. Like, this is just the way things are now. No, you decide the way things are now. Here's one thing I want you to really think about. Take 100% responsibility for everything that shows up in your life. Because if you take 100% responsibility, then anything that shows up in your life is because you wanted it to show up in your life, which means you can change anything in your life. However, if you're not 100% responsible, if it's someone else's fault or something else's fault, then you're helpless. You can't do anything to change it. You can struggle against it, but it's not your fault, right? Which can feel, well, it wasn't my fault. That feels like a relief. But at the same time, if it's not your fault, you can't change it. Whenever something bad happens to me, I take 100% responsibility. Whenever something good happens to me, I take 100% responsibility. But when the bad things happen, I have to come up with the reason. Why did I want that to show up in my life? And when I ask that question, then the answer usually bubbles up from my subconscious. So again, when we're saying every consistent problem is the solution for another problem you're not looking at, with this problem, ask yourself, why do I want this to show up? What is the hidden benefit here that I'm not seeing? And that can lead you to the problem you're supposed to be looking at. A funny example of that was my housemate and I will go to a movie once a month, and there's a movie theater just 2 minutes away, and he always drives. But one day there was a 80s revival going on. It was about 40 minutes away, and they were playing all these 80s movies on the big screen. I said, hey, let's go watch like a double feature. And he's like, sure, I'm down for it. And we started heading to outside, and I'm heading to his car. And he's like, what are you doing? It's like, you always drive. Because I drive when it's 2 minutes, not when it's 40 minutes. You drive. So I'm like, fine. I really didn't want to drive. So we get in my car, we start driving. And 5 minutes into the drive, my dashboard starts to light up with every single warning light you can think of. And he's like, what is going on? I said, I don't know. He goes, we better get home before the car stops. So we got back, parked my car, and it was dead at the time after I parked it. We got in his car. We went to watch the movie. We had a great time. We came back. The next day, I got my car towed, and it cost. I come home and I said it's going to cost $1,000 to fix everything. And he looked at me and he said, "Wow, you really didn't want to drive to that movie, did you?" And I went, "Oh my God, you're right. I didn't want to drive to that movie. I was willing to do $1,000 worth of damage to my car to not drive to the movie." Now, you may be thinking this coincidence, or you may really be getting that I'm owning everything that shows up in my life, because from that, I know I can change anything, and that is liberating. Does that mean everything goes right for me? No, but when things go bad, I figure out, oh, this is why I wanted to go bad. I course correct, and we get back into a flow, which creates more and more success for me. That's what I want for you. I want you to have more and more success in your life. And it comes from this understanding. What are you addicted to? What are you going to choose to be addicted to? Right? And are you taking 100% responsibility for your life? So until you get to those realizations, to that place, things are still happening to you and not for you. And I want things to be happening for you. So here's the lesson in self-mastery, is that you control every one of your emotions. And I know it doesn't feel like it, but every emotion is a controlled response. And you can tell this because you could have two people in the exact same situation, same thing happens to both of them, and they react completely differently. Now, if emotions weren't a choice, then the stimulation would be what determines everything, and they would react the same way. But because they were raised differently, they were taught to react differently, they have different reactions from the same stimulus. So it could be like how they feel about going to a horror movie. It could be how they feel on a roller coaster. It could be how they respond if someone that they find attractive looks at them. Each person is going to decide unconsciously, this is how I'm supposed to react, until you start to say, no, this is how I'm choosing to react. If something bad happens when I'm up on stage, I could feel embarrassed, or I could laugh it off and go, that was funny. I'm glad I could entertain the audience that way, right? If you lose lots of money, you could feel shame, or you could be like, oh, I lost some money. Well, I know how to make money. I'll just make it back, right? If you start to become really successful, you could say, oh my God, I'm so successful. Now everyone's going to be looking at me, and I have to worry about everything I say and everything I do. I'm suddenly a role model. I can't make any mistakes. Or you could be like, wow, being me made me successful. Let's just keep doing this and see how much more success I can create. see the choices you have for your emotions. And when you master those emotions, you master your reality. So I would love for you to master your reality. It's one of the reasons I call myself reality interventionist, because you can change your reality at any time, in any way, once you learn to do this in a powerful way. So I'd like to, again, thank you for listening. I am Shiraz, reality interventionist, and I would love for you to take these lessons, apply them to your life, and create more success. So be well, be aware, and be magical. Talk to you later. Bye bye.